So I kind of love Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. I do. She's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. And I'll explain why we should try our best to love her. And it sort of sounds like an old sentiment, but I think I have a little bit of a new spin on it. So I'm going to get into that. But first, I want to explain to you that I have maybe a little bit of a cold, so bear with me. That being said, I was watching Sargon's Thinkery video where he was talking about how people shouldn't try to debate Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. And I agree with him. I've agreed with him for a long time. I've only ever even spoken about her in a video, I believe, once. And I said at the time that she seemed kind of ridiculous. This is before the election. And she was just talking about how she basically deserves to be in office because of affirmative action, essentially. Because people say that she's young and inexperienced and she shouldn't wait because all the dudes in Congress will be telling her not to run, and if she waited that long, she'd be 80 before she got a seat in the House. So she should just do it because that's what people told women, is not to run if they're inexperienced or something like that. Now, that was just amusing to me at the time, but I was looking at that in terms of sort of like her being this feminist, and she was going to blame all of her problems on men in Congress, or men in the Senate, or men in the White House. I'm not sure what she would blame all of her problems on. But now I'm starting to have a little bit of a different view of her role in Washington, D.C. And I think it's actually rather amazing, and I think that we should actually encourage it. And I hate saying this because I'm usually vehemently against trolling. Usually I think that people should be entirely sincere. But I'm looking at Cortez and I'm realizing that we have a golden opportunity to kind of troll the Democratic Party by pretending to support her and pretending to take her ideas seriously. And the reason I say that is this. I don't think that she's going to be up against reasonable male Republicans or even reasonable male Democrats for the most part, because the reasonable male Democrats aren't really who is in control of the party. I mean, Beto O'Rourke isn't even sitting in the Senate. They were hoping to get him in. He's not. Who else do they got that's a dude? There's like 2 or 3 guys that are kind of mentioned sometimes, you know, like Chuck Schumer, some people, I don't know, but usually when you think of the Democratic Party now, it's powered by some specific women, right? So there's Hillary Clinton ever waiting with her omnipotent force over the party on the sidelines, you know, like glaring over them like the headmistress or something. And that's always just kind of funny and amazing because Hillary Clinton has no principles at all. You never know what Hillary Clinton actually stands for besides power, you know, money. That's Hillary Clinton's shtick. But then you have people like Elizabeth Warren, who is actually pretty smart, but kind of wacky herself, and obviously pretty easy to make fun of. And then we have Kamala Hairspray, the woke intersectional from California, except for she's totally actually a Valley girl and is entirely fake. I don't think that she actually believes the stuff that she pretends to sort of believe. I think that Cortez, on the other hand, might actually believe those things, because Cortez is actually that naive, and the people that supported Cortez are that naive, and she only cares about her primary audience. I think that Cortez probably only cares about the feedback of people under the age of around 25 or so. That would be my guess. So then we also have Kirsten Gillibrand, who's just dumb corporatist woman. I was finally listening to a speech of hers the other night. The only thing that I actually really noticed about Kirsten Gillibrand is that she blinked too much and sort of sounded like a Valley girl again. You know, she doesn't have that same Hillary Clinton scariness about her, but I guess policy-wise, she's practically the same, and somehow she has alliances with Linda Sarsour, which is just kind of funny. So that means that she has some sort of big, creepy corporate connections, right? I'm guessing that Alexandria Cortez maybe doesn't have those same types of connections as Kristen Gillibrand. And then we have, who else? Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein. There's a number of other women in the Democratic Party that are going to be Alexandria Ocasio Cortez's biggest dissenters, her biggest challenges. When Alexandria Cortez takes to the floor and starts delivering speeches, I think that the Republicans are really going to laugh at her for the most part, which is what Sargon pointed out. And that's, if all they're going to do is laugh, you can just leave it at that if you're a Republican, right? For the most part, right? But the Democrats are actually going to have to deal with her because she actually does represent a small segment of their voters, and they will have to please those voters to potentially win in 2020, which it's going to be really hard for them to win in 2020 no matter what, because they do not have a candidate, right? So they're going to be trying to appease Cortez's voting base, and Cortez, she takes no compromises. She will say whatever comes to her mind. Any wacky idea that comes to her mind about socialism and climate change and racism, she's just going to say, obviously. And the people that support her are just glad that they have a person in Washington. They're just stoked that they finally have an intersectional woman of color who is a socialist, who's, unabashedly a socialist, even more of a socialist than Bernie Sanders. They're stoked about this. So she's going to continue to cause rifts between the corporate Democrats, the Elizabeth Warrens, the Kirsten Gillibrands, the Kamala Hairsprays, the Dianne Feinstein, the Nancy Pelosi's. Cortez is not going to be arguing with Republicans. She's going to be arguing with Nancy Pelosi. She's going to be saying, hey, Nancy, you know what? I'm going to call you out, because she's probably not going to say you're a white woman, but I wouldn't put it past her. I wouldn't put it past her. And so this is where the trolling comes in. If Cortez starts saying some crazy crap on Twitter, in relation to some sort of policy, like if she's basically essentially arguing with Nancy Pelosi on Twitter, which it's not going to be unlikely, you should retweet what she's saying and say, yeah, Nancy Pelosi, it sounds like maybe Cortez is referencing your policy here. And you should really address that, because young women of color really, really demand that you pay attention to their intersections and their needs, and socialized lunch recess would be really good for young women of color. Okay, Nancy Pelosi, pretend that you're taking Cortez seriously. You could easily do that. And the corporate Democrats are not going to know the difference, because the corporate Democrats are, they've been spinning their heads in so many directions that they're probably entirely dizzy. They have no idea what makes sense anymore, what doesn't. And the only thing that they care about is their jobs, right? So they're going to pretend to appease Cortez. And if it looks like Cortez actually has a large amount of support on the internet, then they're going to try to actually compromise with Cortez's views, and it's not going to work out in their favor. It's going to be completely silly, and it's just going to be fun. It's going to be the gift that keeps on giving. Now, I realize that the danger of doing this is what if we do end up living in a Cortez socialist nation? Yeah. that's worth thinking about, I suppose. But I think it's going to be a while before the tides actually turn that way. So in the meantime, I think would be, if you feel so inclined, it would be a worthwhile social experiment to pretend to agree with her and pretend to support her and pretend that you side with her wholeheartedly when she causes a rift between the young, socialistic, intersectional idealists and the established corporate Democrats. So that when she has a difference of opinion with Kamala Hairspray, then you can pretend to side with young, bug-eyed, bright-eyed Cortez, and you can be on this side of progress and remind the corporate Democrats that they're old and that they're stuck in their ways. And sooner or later, Cortez is going to realize that it's not the patriarchy that's holding her back. It's not those white men. She might start blaming it on white women, but it's not going to be men that are holding her back. It's going to be the female Democrats. That's who she's going to be arguing with, is the female Democrats. And then maybe with Cortez being the token super irritating feminist, and then she stops being a feminist, theoretically, because she keeps getting into conflicts with the corporate female Democrats, maybe feminism will slowly phase its way out. Because I swear for God, everybody's getting sick of it. You see these stupid Christmas things on Facebook, like mugs that say, "Time to wake up and smash the patriarchy," being sold on Facebook, and it's like, seriously, it's been like 6 years that you've been trying to sell this crap. Like, do you seriously think that people are still buying it? And they probably aren't. You know, this is probably not going to sell that many of these this year. I just kind of assume, you know, after the embarrassment that was the Kavanaugh hearings and people starting to realize, wait, you know, feminists they're just awful people. They're just awful. And Cortez is going to start to realize that these corporate female Democrats who have been calling themselves feminists, they're just like the male Republicans. Actually, they're maybe even worse. They're more two-faced. They're more phony. They're more just completely dishonest about the ways in which they try to improve the lives of poor people. Cortez actually, I think, legitimately wants to improve the lives of poor people. And she's going to realize that the way to do that certainly is not through feminism. And then maybe even eventually socialism, because she's going to argue that position so much that she's going to realize that nobody's going to listen to her. And so we should support her on her journey of, you know, trial and error politics until something ends up starting to change and it will be funny and worthwhile. Now, I'm not actually going to do that myself because I've already made this video and everybody's going to say that I'm lying if I do it, and they'll know that, yeah, I don't actually support her. But I encourage you to, maybe. Just 'cause, why not?